crisis. We have 200,000 people for the past 10 years, or young people who are 200,000. Graduation season. Ma graduate so crisis political will. The recommendations the program is thing, and even my in those position papers, you see. Oh, that's it. Will not help us because I don't want to command, I don't want to but in terms of implementation, that is where we fail.
Ihlile hotata homochawana haena in general, whether umona in the urban or in the rural area. Ihlile for now there's no hope for youth, and the only thing you can do the country itself as ilibona whatever decisions the government and the business world.
When you have a patient get into your ER, you stop the bleeding. Right now, youth unemployment is the bleeding. Before you can operate on vital organs, you stop the bleeding. So the government and the private sector need to stop this bleeding before it gets any further.
Currently, youth are fighting for inclusion. We are saying nothing for the youth without the youth. You know, there's a lot of programs I could mention done by these private sector corporates, and then we also have the government. But they have never really had much of an impact, you know.
Maseru, 300 kilometers away, Haisu Tabatseka Kapo, Tabamaro, or Kachasnek. So you pocket the jobs because you create them here in Maseru, because our way of governing is very centralized. The budget is made in Maseru for people that are 300 kilometers away. The jobs are created in Maseru for people that are 300 kilometers away. Even investors lying across, in fact, around these urban areas of the country, instead of actually now piercing through into the country. So the percentages will hardly ever fall if we don't interrogate the entire country as it is.
I think the biggest mistake that we are still doing is that as the private sector, as government, we are also having conversations in boardrooms where young people are not there. We are imposing problems instead of bringing young people to the table and say, what are your challenges? How can we make things easy for you?
There has always been this uproar ya batjha mo ba buang ka ditaba tsa hore ha bana mesebetsi, high youth unemployment. Ha o bulela radio, even lona tjena le ba politiki ha ba bua ka taba tsa ho ya dikgetho, o utlwe hore se ba batla iketsa ka yona ntho eno ya high youth unemployment. Go bane it's a serious problem ena ha rona e tobaneng le yona, and batjha ba tena ba optela hore ba qetelle ba bontshe ba kena bo boitsekong and all that. The movement is still like go shut down, go ba lekang ho itseka hore ba utlwe go bana ha ona the institutions tse tleng di shabaneng le go ragolla mathata a batjha.
But shutdown at this point has been very influential in its processes and how it deals with certain issues. Unemployment being one of those. I think it has been the voice of the voiceless for a lot of us youth. Right now, I know Bacha Shutdown has been at the forefront of making sure that the ministry as well as the government is tackling issues of youth unemployment. It's currently working on a youth employment program together with the Prime Minister's office and the Ministry of Gender. And they have pushed and they have worked so hard to make sure that such a program exists. I remember one of the mandates behind Budget Shutdown was to have the government declare unemployment as a state of emergency.
When it's a state of emergency, we're able to say to the government, and the Prime Minister is able to say in cabinet, make sure as ministers, all of you, that you have a youth employment plan with you every time we meet in every cabinet. It's able to say to give incentive to private sectors. For example, if you were to look at a large company like Vodacom, you say, okay, fine, Vodacom, we don't know how your employees are right now, but if you can show to us that at least your company will be set up such that it has 40% of the youth in it, and if you are successful in that, we will lower your tax by maybe 4% or by 2%. That is an incentive to a private sector. That way, these large companies are able to quickly absorb the youth into their working space.
Government ntho e kgolo e hlokang ho etsa go fetola melao e suite maemo a teng hona jwale. Ke etse mohlala fela. Business tse ding tse re di etsang le batjha. You don't even need an office space or sebetse. You are just a phone call away. Ibo we ya mo hlokwang service ya hao, you provide the service, you go back to your home. Some people even run their businesses from their garages. But answer register patala tax and all the things tse hlokahalang. A kgona ho nka di loan ho hodisa kgwebo ya hae, a operate la kae ka garage. Ha na le di meetings a di tshwarela ka living room ya hae. You get me? Asa worry ka patala rent, but mona in 2021 ho ntso hlokahala hore o bo o buile leshano la hore on a office space somewhere in town fela ntso tseba go sebeletsa hae. You get me? Ilo bana fela bele molao ilo ona o tlamang hore o qetella o be le office.
So it's just a matter of identifying people that are trustworthy, people that can promise you quality, but quality also requires resources. You know what I mean? So if you are going to empower youth and SMMEs, you really have to be intentional about it and let's go about, the both of us go above and beyond to make sure that we both succeed. The private sector operates in silos. If I'll make an example of the young people or businesses that have graduated from the Innovation Park, they have graduated from all the other incubation programs in Lesotho. So that really should tell you something. As private sector, we really need to go back to the drawing board and say, how can we come and work together such that we are not all investing in one business?
I've been part of some of these initiatives, and I've benefited greatly from them, right? So it doesn't mean that they are unsuccessful because they were never good initiatives to begin with. And I'm talking from experience, having been part of the Vodacom Innovation Park, wonderful program that has helped me personally, to grow to a different level. But like I'm saying, if you look at the time that it started and where it is now, how many cohorts have they had, and how many success stories do they have?
Even here at Bedco, we have tried to decentralize our initiatives because you find out that most youth in the central, in the urban areas are more creative, they are more exposed to different ideas as compared to those in the rural areas. So I think it is important for us to actually help them. We should disseminate information. We should try to focus our efforts in the rural areas just to try to decentralize everything.
So how to look at the possibility of aggregating, consolidating, these programs would be absolutely critical. How do you measure the impact of these programs? So there is a need to really develop M&E, monitoring and evaluation tools to reinforce that. The report essentially is taking an integrated approach to look at how a set of integrated interventions can address the needs and help unlock the potential of the youth. For example, I was pleased to see that the coordinating unit has already facilitated discussion around critical value chains, such as the export of manufacturing in Lesotho, focusing on textiles and apparel, another one on tourism. So this kind of joint approach where all actors are together around the table are really the one that should be promoted as this program is being rolled out.
And the idea is to ensure that youth participate in all these value chains. And participation will require that there's skills development in each of the value chains. It will also require that we create an enabling environment for investment.
An enabling environment is everything. If the regulatory framework is not friendly, if the commercial courts are closed and they're not working, already creates a lot of risks. So definitely by making sure that the environment is allowing. Secondly, you can also make an environment allowing by having laws that are youth friendly. We have to be intentional. If we say we're going to develop youth, let us see it in our procurement processes. Let us see it in our employment statistics. Let us see it in our development agenda.
In short, to be competitive, you need to be creative and innovative. And generally, our young people are very creative. We therefore have to involve them in all the value chains because their involvement will promote efficiency and also profitability of businesses in all value chains.
As of June 2020, there were about 12 active entrepreneurship programs in Lesotho, and most of them were located in Maseru. So there is really a need to open the services to other districts, other urban centers, to ensure that there are no major disparities between the capitals and other centers.
ba kene ka hara mosebetsi o ba lekang go ba etseng ba iphidise mme ke nagana gore go ka thusahalang bakeng sa mmuso go gore mmuso ka ketella go khahlametsa batjhabano ka ntwe ba ka hlokang gona ba ka ketella ba tswile le lesobellana le jwa boholo ba batjha ba bang ba nang le mokgwa ona hana bana batho ga kana hane ka go tshwana re na le go ragolla mathata gona ka gore ge bona gona ga ka itemela jwang go hlola bophelo ba disang ile ba disang bana le ho iketsetsa menate ya dikgomo e le mokgwa wa hore ba iphumanele tšhelete ka dikgomo tseo ba sebetsanang di dipere bana le ho beisa dipere tsa bona e le tsela ya hore kana go ba fumane mokgwa wa hore ne ba fumane ditšhelete.
So if you take some of the urban youth, let's say somebody who did agricultural science but has no job, and then you bring him in collaboration with somebody who's been rearing cattle for many years. When you combine the two skills, you can develop a model that can actually work. You throw in a few guys who've done accounting, a few guys have done marketing, a few guys have done that, logistics. That's where companies formed. You understand? So by the time you bring in the financial resource, you have already have the requisite skill married together to form something positive.
Someone once said to me, Lesotho is like a green field. And I think there's no better way to describe entrepreneurial state in Lesotho. If you look at youth, there is that hunger. There is so much hunger from entrepreneurs in Lesotho, and they're willing to work hard, And this is a very difficult business environment to operate in. It's really, really difficult. But people still try out things nonetheless, So when you have identified those people, in my opinion, if you have identified people that are willing and have the energy and the effort for it and the tenacity, all these characteristics that help any person to succeed in anything really, identify those people and then make sure that the investors invest in those people.
So I really think, from a systems thinking point of view, entrepreneurship alone cannot be a solution. the private sector alone cannot address the issue of unemployment or employability or scalability thereof, as well as the government. So it's a multi-stakeholder problem that needs a multi-stakeholder approach.
My last words is just an appeal, an appeal to young people to see themselves as assets, an appeal to our elected officials to see us as assets, not a security threat, for them to enact legislation which is friendly to us. Can we have a leadership that is patriotic, a leadership that is selfless towards young people?
We only have this country, and that's what we have. Nobody's going to change it. Aid comes in, but it has its own agendas. So only us can truly develop our country the way we want to develop it.